Good morning and welcome to Mornings with Mary. Today we're going to talk about anxiety and how homeschooling can help stop what feels like the rain down of anxiety. So, before we do that, let's do our normal morning spiel, right? Which is, if you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. As always, hashtag replay down there, like it and share it. As you can see, I have the new background going on. See, we have the Mornings with Mary banner coming up. And if you saw the post yesterday, you actually got to see the behind the scenes stuff, which is really kind of funny. So when you're trying to do videos on your phone, you have to keep a real camera. So I have to be really careful with like where I put things and who I am. Anyway, so I want to talk today about how homeschooling can help with anxiety, because I totally remember being completely anxious when I was in school. And I know like going every single day was something that was really torture for me. It was also for Elizabeth. Now, Sarah's never been, so I can't speak to it from that point of view, simply because she's never been. But for Elizabeth, going to school was something that invoked a huge sense of trauma every day, anxiety every day. She couldn't breathe, she'd be sick. I'd get calls from the nurse about, upset stomachs and headaches. And it really interfered with her ability to be educated, because see, when you have high anxiety, whether it's due to learning disabilities or a biological neurological disorder, your body goes into fight or flight. So one of two things is going to happen. If you're a fighter, you're going to get into fights all the time. It's just what happens because you are constantly on the defense. If you are more into flight, you're going to be sick to your stomach. You're going to have headaches. You're going to find ways to leave the situation. So our children, when they are living in fight or flight mode, don't actually absorb a damn thing that's happening at school, because their brain cannot absorb the information and learn and get through the day. I know that sounds probably really hard to understand, like, well, they're there to learn. Well, you're right, but they have to survive first. And survival always takes precedent over anything else that happens in our world. That's why we eat, that's why we hydrate, that's why we sleep, that's why we reproduce. It is all about survival, so fight or flight. Now, granted, there might not be saber-toothed tigers coming after your children in the classroom, but that's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? Because I know, for myself, there were some really saber-toothed tiger bullies in my school, and it was really hard, and so I wasn't able to concentrate, I wasn't able to absorb it. For Elizabeth, the same thing happened. She wasn't able to absorb. She wasn't able to move forward. When we pulled her out in 7th grade, it took 3 years to deschool her. 3! To undo the damage that had been done. And then when we tested her so that we'd know where we were starting, right? Because most people want to go through an assessment when they start homeschooling. Where do we need to start? What grade level is my child at? She should have been in 7th grade in math, and she was in 3rd. Okay, so here's a great example of that fight or flight with the anxiety. She clicked out in 3rd grade when all the bullying really started in really hard. It's known as, 3rd grade is known as like the mean girl time. It's when the mean girls start. And I'll tell you that's pretty true. So even all the teachers will tell you it's like now it's starting in kindergarten, but 3rd grade it really amps up. So you have fight or flight. You're gonna have a fighter on your hands, or you're gonna have someone who completely clicks out. Good morning. So how does homeschooling help with that anxiety? Because you're gonna think, oh, well, now they're home, right? They're not gonna wanna do anything. Well, you're right. For a while, they won't. And that's what deschooling is for. And that's why, if you want to know more about deschooling, go to the blog at maryharrington.com and read it. That's the latest post. It's about deschooling. It isn't linear. It's right there. It's the first one. But when you're talking about bringing someone home who has anxiety, you need to actually give them time to heal, because the neurons in their brain, the little receptors up here, if you think of them like electrical wires, okay? They've been stripped back, all right? So now the wires are exposed. And when the wires are exposed, they're raw, right? You don't want to touch a live wire. You're going to get shocked. And that's what happens when the anxiety is too high for too long. Your cortisol levels actually drop and your adrenal levels drop. So one of the things you really need to work on is talking with your pediatrician or your dietitian, your nutritionalist, your fundamental doctor, whomever you go to, about having your child's adrenals and cortisol levels checked. Because if their anxiety was that high, they're going to be low or they're going to be depleted. And you need to heal those first before you can even start with any kind of education. Because otherwise, they're still going to be in fight or flight at home. And you're going to have that on your hands, which is really kind of exhausting and difficult to deal with. So when you are bringing them home, when your child has anxiety, you definitely have to give them time to heal. And then when the healing has finished, and you're going to know the healing has come basically to an end, because they're going to be looking for things to do. They're going to be looking for educational things to do, things to learn. Their passion for learning is going to start turning back on. And you'll see it. They're like, oh yeah, I really want to go do that. Or that sounds pretty cool. Or they're going to start looking into things. You don't actually have to do a thing. It actually comes back on its own, because children are naturally curious and children are natural learners. You put them in a school environment, they're not going to learn as well. But bring them home, let their anxiety go down, let them heal, bring up those cortisol levels, bring up those adrenals, and you're going to have a whole other kid on your hands. And then they can learn. And that is the most amazing thing ever. It's like the light goes on and you see this whole other child. But be forewarned, once you start that educational stuff again, it's going to trigger their anxiety. And this is where self-led learning is so important, because if you are handing them worksheets and textbooks, etc., and that is part of what triggered their anxiety in the past, that I'm going to fail, I'm no good at this, I can't do this, I don't know what I'm doing, all of that anxiety, the PTSD, so the post-traumatic stress disorder, that happens from that anxiety is going to come flooding right back, and you're going to be back at step one. So self-led learning, or self-directed learning, sometimes called unschooling, there is a difference between the two. Self-led learning or self-directed learning is goal and task oriented, where the child picks the task and the goal. As the parent, you are the facilitator and the one who brings them more ideas. You discuss it with them. Maybe they work in a group with peers, maybe they don't. It can be individualized or in a group or with you. Unschooling is more, we're just going to learn through exposure. Neither's wrong. It just depends on where your child is and how they work best. So when they are using self-directed learning or unschooling, whichever method works best for your child, they then don't have all those other triggers of worksheets and textbooks and stuff unless they choose it. Yeah, isn't that awesome? So then they are able to dive into things that they are passionate about. So for example, right now, Elizabeth has already graduated, right? She's 20 years old. Now, she really doesn't like math or finance, but because she's starting her own business now, she's excited to learn math and finance. Go figure, right? Sarah, she has all these disabilities with her reading, etc., but now because she wants to be able to write a book, she is forcing herself to read. She's forcing herself to do her eye exercises and to write, and there's spontaneous writing happening, etc., because she is motivated. You see, when there's an intrinsic motivation, when the anxiety is low enough, when that healing has happened to the adrenals and to the cortisol levels, when you have provided an environment that allows learning without direction, and this is really hard for you, Mom, to not get all excited about what they're learning, be like, oh, you can do this, oh, we can do it this way, and did you see this, did you learn that? I've been totally guilty of that, totally, I'm all excited. But the more you get involved, guess what happens? The more they click out. So be there, listen, maybe strew some things out, maybe they're interested in dinosaurs, I don't know. Well, then find some books on dinosaurs, put them out, maybe go on a dinosaur dig. Suggest things, but let them take the lead, right? One of the things I've found is really helpful in marriage is you let them think it's their idea, but it's really your idea. Kind of the same thing for kids. Just the truth of the matter, sorry there. Laying it out there and being honest. So, to bring things together, number one, when you bring your child home who is suffering from anxiety, you need to what? You need to let them heal. You need to go to a doctor that you trust to test their cortisol levels and their adrenal levels. And then you need to work on bringing those back up so that they are able to get out of that fight or flight. That's super important, okay? Because until you do that, you're just be fighting against the tide, and guess what? The tide always wins. It's just what it does, all right? Number two, you need to let them take control of their education. Scary as hell, I know. You're like, oh, they're not going to learn X, Y, and Z. Well, how important is X, Y, and Z? Maybe they need to learn A, B, and C so they can get to X, Y, and Z, and really that's okay. They're going to get there. Trust that they're going to get there. Take their passion, take their interest. I don't care if it's gaming, and go with it. Because you know what? If it's gaming, chances are they're also going to be into coding. And if they're into coding, guess what? They can probably start coding games, and guess what a great career that'll be. But stop trying to worry about your kid's career when they're 7, 10, or 17. Chillax. Are you really planning out what they're going to wear to prom and who they're going to go to prom with and who they're going to marry? No. Relax. They're going to get there, because when the healing has happened, they're going to step right into it. And they're going to feel confident, and they're going to feel secure, and they're going to feel curious. And now when they feel curious, number 3, do not jump in to the deep end with them. Hard. Because it's like, oh, I know all this stuff and I want to share it and I can't wait to go do this and look, we can do this and do that. No, mama. Rein yourself back. Like back here, okay? Watch, observe, ask questions. Point out some things they might not know because you might know a little more, but be open to learning things that you didn't know and exploring with them. So that is a way that self-led learning and homeschooling can really help with anxiety. It heals their mind, heals their body, heals their spirit, and allows them to then be in control, which brings down the anxiety because it's something that they're interested in. Because let's face it, when we're working on things that we're interested in, we are super focused. That is the way the human brain works. So if you have any questions about that, please leave them below. As always, like and share. And take a hop over into the website. I have redone some things. Again, I'm always redoing it, right? Because trying to make it best for you. Not for me, but for you. And if you go there today, you will actually see that I now have a Homeschooling 101 free binder. So if you go to the homeschool page, it is right there. It's like how to get started, and it's free. And if you're super lucky, you could even sign up for the email list and get a copy of From Stress to Best for free. That is a $20 value, and you can read about how to help your child who suffers from anxiety or depression or learning disabilities and use self-led learning to do that. But it'll walk you through every single homeschooling methodology. So if you are looking for that, say, hey, what's the difference between classical and Waldorf and Charlotte Mason and eclectic and unschooling? It is all there, and it is free for you. So go to Mary Harrington with an E, see right here, maryharrington.com. As I shrink out of it, it has been Mornings with Mary. Remember, like and share. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Have fun. Bye-bye.